Where are you, by the way, right now? Are you in Florida?
I'm in Florida.
Yeah. How's
Yeah.
everything going there after the big storm?
So it's I'm very fortunate. My home's on the East Coast, in Hollywood. So there's just some rain and wind here. It really wasn't affected as much as the West Coast and Orlando. So I'm very, very lucky, considering all the devastation that there is in other parts of the state.
Yeah. Well, that's great to hear because it was
Yeah.
wow, that was a lot that was going on there.
It was so scary. It was so scary. I was in New York actually for it, but um, coming back here in the middle of hurricane season, I was like, should probably put my Doppler radar on and make sure that I am paying attention to the weather
Mm-hmm.
and not ignoring it. So,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
scary.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Sure. Okay, so today we're going to talk about cravings, right?
Yes, my favorite cravings, hunger, overeating, how
Mm,
that ties into fat loss, and really how to manage all these things in a healthy and more balanced way.
awesome. All right, let's go ahead and talk about it. So tell us first a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you help women with.
Sure. So my name is Laura Cavallo, and I have been in fitness, nutrition, and athletics for over 15 years in combined. I started out playing sports as a young kid, playing sports as a collegiate athlete, and then later on coaching and then getting into fitness. But my relationship with food started early on, much like all of us. I grew up in an Italian family. We loved to eat and celebrate and enjoy each other's company around food. And this really set the stage for my default setting of always being uncomfortably full or overeating, right? And I make this joke that is if you weren't unbuttoning your pants at the dinner table, you had not eaten enough in our family, right? It's like you're either wearing stretchy pants or your belly's hanging out of your pants or you're deep breathing and sighing because you have had your fill. And this is part because Italians, are easily offended if you don't finish everything on your
Mm.
plate. There's a lot of pride in what we cook, and the food is usually pretty good. So as a kid, I was always growing up overeating, but when I moved to the United States, I grew up in Italy. I got exposed to all of these more flavorful and palatable foods
Mm.
and like sugar and breads and cereals and cookies and cakes. And for someone that tends to overeat, this was really a free for all for me. We would have dinner and then at night I would have my sweet treats and then we would have a piece of bread with cheese at 9 o'clock before we went to bed. And so growing up, I was playing sports and I had a really big appetite. And so overeating combined with my big appetite just made for a constant state of being full and finishing everything on my plate. And even have memories of being at the dinner table with my family and being forced to finish everything on my plate and trying to hide food in my napkin or going to the bathroom to spit up food that I didn't want to eat. And it really turned into more of I don't want to say negative experience, but these memories etched in my brain of being forced to finish food and being uncomfortable and still having to finish it even if I didn't want to. So I took these habits into my teens and my 20s. I um was a big binge drinker in my 20s. I also overate food all the time. I played Division One lacrosse at UC Berkeley. I got a scholarship, and that is really when my binge drinking and eating habits really took off. And I would say that like while I was an athlete and I was one of, I guess you could say one of the best players on the team, I really was not that healthy at all in terms of my nutrition, in terms of drinking, and just having a balanced, healthy lifestyle that you might picture an athlete having. And then, so these habits followed me into my 20s. I was selling wine and liquor after college. as a sales representative, and a lot of that lifestyle revolved around food and wine and dinners and tastings, and it was really, really fun,
Mhm.
but it wasn't necessarily the healthiest lifestyle to be
Sure.
living in New York City in your 20s. And um I had some really fun memories, but definitely was not living a very balanced or healthy lifestyle at all. And this followed into my late 20s when I was actually assaulted on the streets of Brooklyn when I was 28, a couple days before Thanksgiving. And I was unable to defend myself. I was unable to get away. And I was also in a really unhealthy relationship at that time. And it was almost like the catalyst that made me reflect on it was time to change my life. It was time to build more strength inside and out. It was time to get healthy. It was time to leave a city that was really sucking the life out of me. And so when I was 28, I moved to Los Angeles and I became a trainer. My first job was at Equinox in Santa Monica. And I was just so excited to lean into this new career and this new life and really just embrace the best version of myself, right? I was very excited. But what I thought would be the start of a new health journey and this new Laura, this new and improved version of myself, ended up being what would end up being 5 years of, once again, really unhealthy nutrition habits, really unhealthy mindset, a lot of comparison, a lot of feeling low in terms of self-worth and confidence. And that was because I was in a city and I felt pressure to look a certain way, to be at a certain level with other trainers that I was around. And coming from a long history of binge eating and binge drinking, my body was not the healthiest. I didn't feel confident. I wasn't fitting well in my clothes. I felt bloated and inflamed. And so that really started 5 years of fad dieting, yo-yo dieting. I did everything from elimination diets to low carb, to keto, to paleo diets. And that is really when my binges and my overeating overtook my life. I felt so much pressure to be thin and skinny so I would undereat throughout the day only to end up binging at night. And this was part hormonal, it was part environmental, it was part mental. But this routine went on for 5 years. And I guess you could say the catalyst for me starting to learn more about cravings and really put an end to cravings was I had binged a whole bag. I don't know if you've ever seen these, Kirsten. I don't know if you've ever seen these, but they are called Cowboy Bark from Trader Joe's. It's this dark chocolate pretzel caramel goodness
Sounds
that
amazing.
it is so good. They
Yeah.
discontinued it, so I'm very upset about it because now I feel like I could actually have them in the house and not eat the whole bag in 2 hours. But when I would get my period each month, I would get a bag of that and I would eat it in one sitting.
Mhm.
And during this time, I had binged this bag. This particular month, I'd binged this bag in 2 hours, which was over 1,200 calories. And I wasn't even full. I didn't even feel satisfied. And I was going for a box of cereal. And I kind of stopped in my tracks and I just thought to myself, like, what is going on? This can't be normal, quote unquote. This can't be healthy. What is wrong with me? Something is going on. And for those 5 years, I just felt so much shame for these habits that I didn't really open up to a lot of people. I felt a lot of guilt that I couldn't be successful with these diets. I feared food so much. I feared, eating a piece of bread would make me gain weight, or, going out and having some cocktails would actually trigger me to self-sabotage and the whole weekend would be over. I really just had no balance. Everything was good or bad or black and white. And I would even use exercise to kind of punish myself for eating so much or having a binge weekend or whatever it was. So, that binge was really the catalyst for starting to learn about hormones, starting to learn about metabolism, starting to understand what is going on in my body, but also is there an alternative to this life that I'm leading? Can I find a more balanced and moderate approach to nutrition? And it took me a few years, but over time, I was able to create this system that allowed me to slim down, build strength, lose inches, feel more confident in my clothes while also enjoying these foods that I love, like chocolate and alcohol and cookies and cakes, but not actually binge them. So my cravings, my hunger, my overeating dropped by more than 50%. I stopped labeling foods as good and bad. I stopped punishing myself with exercise. And I started sharing these strategies with my actual fitness clients who I was training at the time. Because these clients were also binging on the weekends, trying to be good during the week, under eating during the day, binging at night. And so, with some of these strategies, clients started seeing results and having less shame and less guilt and better nutritional habits. And I knew with time that this was really my calling because so many women struggle with cravings and so many of us feel like it's bad or we're bad or something is inherently wrong with us. So I really wanted to change the narrative around cravings, around binges, around these experiences that we have with food and really give women strategies and support in this area without you know dead end approaches that maybe we're used to having, like just have more water or have some fruit instead. So that's really that's a small snapshot of the last 30 years of my life and kind of where I'm at now. So sorry for the long-winded bio there.
No, that's okay. There's a lot of things that I definitely want to go back to. So, based on your history, how you grew up and how overeating was almost like a part of what your family did and family tradition, all that, was there ever a time when it wasn't like that, or this is all you knew, like growing up? That's the way we eat until we have to unbutton our pants. Was there ever a time where it was more normal, kind of healthier, or no?
Like a more balanced approach growing up.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I will say that Italians always cook from scratch, right? Fresh. So that was always something that I took away in my eating was that there was always some sort of vegetable around, right? There was always meat cooked fresh. There was always can't like a pasta sauce made fresh.
Mhm.
So while our habits were definitely more towards the overeating side, I did take some at least healthy habits away from that and healthy inclinations. But I would say in general, our default was always to kind of eat until you're full. And I think that a lot of women can relate to this either whether it's growing up with that habit or even as adults, like there's a scarcity around food for a lot of us, right? In terms of, well, I don't know the next time I'm going to eat this, right? Or my mom only makes this once a year. It's the holidays. She's making apple pie. I have to have my fill. Or we never make it to this restaurant, right? I have to order this, this, and that, right? So I think there's a sense of scarcity when it comes to overeating. I think that there's habits and routines played into this, but can I think back to a time where I was not overeating? No, I honestly cannot. Even as an athlete in college and even later on in life, it was always this default was just an uncomfortably full state.
Mm-hmm. It's so interesting what you say about the scarcity mindset around food because in our environment, like where we live in modern societies, it's so rare. I think that people even know what real hunger is, like real
Hmm.
hunger, right? So the
Hmm.
food is everywhere. Nobody's gonna like, even if you can, I mean, this is not something that I encourage, but even if you didn't eat a whole day or 2 days, you would survive. You would be fine.
Hmm.
And this is maybe you would actually feel hunger and know what feel like real hunger is. But I think many of us have this like, oh my God, where is this going to go? Is there going to be enough? What's that going to look like? It's like very much of this fearful mindset around food.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. And, that scarcity can manifest itself in different ways. So, for example, if you were a kid, maybe you grew up with a large family and food was maybe more limited, and you had to get those bread rolls before the rest of your brothers and sisters did. Otherwise, you'd be left without it, right?
Mhm.
That can kind of happen and play in with scarcity if maybe you didn't grow up with enough food around, or my grandparents grew up in like the era where they were going to war, right? In Italy in the 40s and 50s and 60s. And so whenever there was food, it was like you better get your fill because you don't know
Mhm.
the next time you're going to eat, right? So
Mhm.
I know that their inclinations and habits of not wanting to waste food and making sure you're eating everything on your plate came from their experiences
Mhm.
as well with food scarcity.
Yeah, and I've noticed also that the same mindset can come from constant dieting. If you're always under eating and you're always kind of thinking about food, and then maybe you will let go of that and start eating normally, then it sticks with you for a little while. Like the memory of what it felt like when there was not enough allowed, because you were the only one who made the decision. I'm not going to allow myself to have more, but it's just like this memory. It stays around for a while, and that's why sometimes after like lots of dieting we like overeat because it's like what if this food is going to be taken away again. um
Yeah.
Tell
Mhm.
us a little bit more. So obviously it took you a while to figure out like the approach, like how to start sort of fixing it. What were the first tools or strategies that you started implementing to kind of heal your own relationship with food, and how did you come up with them? Did you learn them somewhere? Did you just experiment with different things? How did it go?
Mhm. Yeah, so in 2016, I uh, was following a woman on Instagram. Her name is Jill Coleman, at Jill Fit, and she introduced me to the concept of moderate eating. And she is this super athletic woman. She's in her 40s now, but at the time, she was in her 30s, much like myself. And she was talking about going from a, yeah, more restrictive dieting lifestyle as a physique competitor to a more moderate eating approach. And I was watching her have wine during the week and candy, and still getting up to exercise the next day and not restricting and not binging. And I was just so fascinated by the concept of what I call the gray area, right? Not eating in all or nothing or black and white, but navigating this gray area of in between. And so I took some of her teachings and started to shift my mindset a bit into like, what if I did allow some chocolate during the week? What if I did have a cookie today? And I started getting more comfortable from a mindset perspective, but then from an action perspective as well. And then I started asking myself questions like, why do I feel like I have to eat everything on my plate? Do I actually feel hungry? Am I actually craving? What is the difference between both of these things? And then I just started kind of exploring and seeing patterns between myself and my clients, their childhood relationships with food, their mindset around dieting, their triggers like stress and sleep for reasons that they were overeating. So, one of the first concepts that I started playing with was just allowing myself more treat or crave foods during the weekday, right? Not limiting myself to alcohol just on the weekends. Like, okay, well, maybe I can have a margarita on a Tuesday with a taco, right? And not let it self-sabotage my habits for Wednesday. And
Yeah.
so I just started practicing allowing more crave foods, what I call crave foods, into my diet, seeing how they affected me, seeing how my mental response to them as well. I also started educating myself a lot in the way of hormones and metabolism.
Mhm.
And I started realizing that, my birth control had kind of put me in a state of intense PMS and really not being able to um, control some of my impulses and my hunger and my cravings. And I was using caffeine to kind of suppress my appetite. So it's also affecting my adrenals and my hormonal responses. So, I'm not recommending anyone get off birth control as a way to control cravings or hunger, but I would definitely recommend asking yourself why you're on birth control and if there are alternative methods for you, because synthetic hormones can definitely impact how our regular hormones respond, obviously. And it can be hard to kind of, I don't want to say balance hormones, but support the natural flow of our hormones.
Mhm.
So when I started understanding how my body was responding in response to an imbalance in my hormonal profile, I got a lot more educated on the types of foods to include in my diet to help keep glucose and insulin more stable and nourish my body during my cycle when I would have higher cravings so that I wasn't binging whole bags and boxes, but I could have a little bit without feeling the need to binge. So it was part mindset, but also part application in the beginning. Really just getting curious about what my body was saying and how it was responding to things from both a mental and a physical perspective.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a cliche, but we have to listen to our bodies, right? Because it gives us like hints all the time what's going on. And when you were able to make a correlation, like certain time of the month, the cravings were probably bigger. There's something going on there, and why is that happening?
Mm-hmm.
So super helpful that you learned about the hormones, and yeah, the birth control definitely is not something that helps at all. I
Yeah.
think in most cases it does more harm than good. But yeah, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
everybody's own decision what they do. It's just something to consider. It is synthetic, it's not part of our body. So uh
Yeah.
yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the cravings framework that you have created, what that is about and what it looks like?
Sure. So over the years, I really saw that women wanted to slim down, build strength, have lean muscle tissue, feel more confident in their bodies, but didn't want to give up the foods that they loved, right? They needed something that was more sustainable for them. And, as busy women, as social women, we want to be able to go out and still have the glass of wine and have the dessert and not feel like we're sabotaging our goals and we're setting ourselves back. So I really wanted to create a framework that was specifically for busy women, social women on the go, that so that they could get those fat loss results, those slimming results, those more lean results that they want, but while also enjoying their life at the same time.
Mhm.
So what I noticed is that we need to first address mindset, right? So building a more of a growth mindset. So moving away from the shame and guilt that we tend to have when we indulge in more treat or crave foods, and actually shifting that shame and guilt into curiosity and flexibility. Okay, so this is sort of step one in our framework. It's called trusting mindset. Trusting mindset includes trusting the process, trusting yourself, trusting that your body will change over time with enough stimulus. So that's step one in our treats framework, TREATS. The next piece of our system is really about the two major cravings triggers, which is sleep and stress. Okay. So the R stands for rest and regeneration. So it's super important that women are taking time to self-care, nurture themselves, have mindfulness in their day to day, reduce stress, and prioritize quality sleep. Without these two things, fat loss won't happen. Cravings will increase. It will make things 10 times harder, A, to control cravings, and B, to get your results. And C, just to be healthy, right? Like if you're not sleeping well and you're chronically stressed, your body's in this stress state that is just not going to operate. You're not going to feel good in general, never mind the bells and whistles of fat loss and cravings control.
Mhm.
So we really prioritize that at Laura Cavallo Coaching. The third pillar is exercise selection in our treat system. And this is focusing on building strength, building lean muscle, and increasing non-exercise related activity. So the reason we do this is because I'm sure a lot of, women listening are probably come from a history of HIIT training or cardio or cycling
Yes.
and feeling like they have to burn the most amount of calories in their workout, and that's how they're going to lose weight. But on the contrary, we want exercise to build the lean tissue, to create those peaks and valleys. And then we want to use nutrition and walking and low level intensity exercise to help slim and help reveal that muscle. Okay. So, exercise, the goal should never be to burn the most amount of calories.
Yeah.
The goal should be to maintain and build as much muscle and strength as possible. And ladies, we do not have enough testosterone in our body to start looking quote unquote manly. I really feel, I hate when women say, I don't want to get bulky. I don't want to, look like a man. It takes years and years and years for you to ever get there if you were to. Takes a lot of testosterone to get there. And the cool thing about your body is when you build up enough muscle tissue and you say, oh, I'm pretty happy with this muscle definition, you can maintain where you are. You don't have to keep building. You don't have to keep adding to your body. So we're really big proponents of this. I know that you are as well in terms of strength training and resistance training. And never mind the benefits of longevity and health when it comes to exercise selection. So that's our third pillar in the treat system. The next pillar is awareness and cravings. Okay. Awareness is step one in anything that we're trying to change, anything that we're trying to do, whether it's nutrition, whether it's more consistency with exercise, whether it's trying to sleep better, whether it's trying to have better stress management. If you're not aware of your triggers or what's going on around you, you cannot change what you don't know needs changing. Okay. So with cravings, we start to identify your main cravings archetype. And within awareness and cravings, we have different cravings archetypes. We have routine Roberta, hormonal Henrietta, and disconnected Donna. I can talk more about them later. But within this system, we have actual cravings strategies. Okay. One of those craving strategies that I share with my clients is serve and go. It's a way of serving yourself a smaller portion of a crave food, enjoying it outside of the kitchen for 20 minutes, over the course of 20 minutes, waiting 20 minutes before that second serving. And as a bonus, if you can do something during that time to kind of, I don't want to say distract yourself, but to give yourself time to really see, do I want more of this, right? Or am I more hungry? Or am I really craving something? So that's just one example of one of the craving strategies that we have within our system. Our fifth pillar is exactly what we were talking about before. So listening to our bodies, right? Tracking biofeedback. Tracking biofeedback is listening to all of the ways that our body is responding and communicating with us on a daily basis. So this is everything from mood, hunger, cravings, sleep, stress, digestion, PMS symptoms, exercise recovery, right? All of these things are saying to you, oh, you're energized, you're good, or you maybe didn't sleep well last night, or you're chronically stressed, you've been snacking all day, or you haven't eaten all day. What is going on, right? So, or you haven't pooped today. You usually poop every morning. Your body is communicating with you. So again, getting our clients more comfortable with slowing down, identifying what's going on in their day-to-day with some of these biofeedback markers. And then our last pillar is satisful nutrition. And this is really where we take the reins in terms of teaching our clients a sustainable nutrition system that they can maintain amongst their busy lifestyle, amongst their social lifestyles. We include things like satisful plates, sipping slow, eating on a continuum, an 80-20 continuum, which is sort of a sliding scale. So moving away from that all or nothing mindset, but more letting this 80-20 slide when we're traveling or during weekends, or maybe we're out of our routine. And so those are our pillars that make up our treat system. And We call it our treats lifestyle system for fat loss and cravings control. And it's really what's been helping our clients lose an average of 3 inches and 3 pounds every 3 months, and then seeing continued progress from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you don't do any tracking, right? You don't track calories, you don't track macros. It's all about habits and habit changes and paying attention to your biofeedback and all the things that you mentioned, right?
Exactly, exactly. When our clients do first come to us, in most cases, I will have them do a food diary,
Mm-hmm.
not where they're tracking their calories or macros, but just to give them and me a snapshot of an amount of food that they're eating per day, time of day, quality of the food that they're eating. But when our clients are going through the program, we don't track or count unless I have a client that is in a reverse diet. So
Mm-hmm.
that would be an occasion where a client has been under eating for a certain amount of time and their metabolism has slowed down. And I know you help a lot of your clients with this. And so we have to reverse the client out of this caloric deficit that they've kind of get them or caloric hole that they've gotten themselves in and kind of get their metabolism back up to ramping. But I have literally one client out of 20 right now that I'm doing that with. All other clients are basic habits, cravings, and nutritional strategies for fat loss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a really great alternative, I think, because for a lot of people, I mean, I do coach, I do work with macros and tracking and all that, but I know that this is not for everybody. And I think it's great if there's somebody right now listening, like, yeah, I do get these intense cravings and my body isn't the way I want it to be, this unexplained weight gain, I don't know, like I can't control myself. Then I think something what you're doing is really, really great because, it's, I wouldn't say it's necessarily easier, but it doesn't have the tracking component to it, which
Mm-hmm.
can sometimes be a little bit more stressful. So I think it's really really great that you're doing it. So what are your own kind of tools that you practice in your own nutrition? Some kind of principles that you follow, and I'm assuming these are probably the same things that you tell your clients. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So, you know, I try and keep it simple because when things get too complicated, we start putting the bells and whistles on things. Then we start to think we have to start taking supplements and we have to start exercising 6 days a week and we have to, get the latest, Apple Watch to see results. When in reality, we just want this to be accessible for everybody, right? So when it comes to coaching clients, and even for myself, I ask clients to take 2 or 3 habits that they know are their dial movers each day. I call them their cornerstone habits that really help them stay grounded each day. And for me, what that is making sure that I get 8 hours of sleep. The reason that is a nutrition strategy is because I know when I'm fatigued or tired, I snack and eat more. Okay. It is almost like a light switch. Like if I am fatigued, I'm going to be snacking all day. There's a box of crackers next to my desk. I'm going to the fridge multiple times per day or per hour, even. And so for me, sleep equals better cravings control and better hunger management.
Mhm.
The second thing I do is I lead with Satisful plates every single meal. Satisful is a way of creating a dish or a plate. I call it my Satisful plate guide that incorporates 4 different elements to it. So step one is starting with a lean. Lean is stands for a protein rich food. It could be chicken, beef, turkey. Doesn't mean lean protein. It just means lean. It just means protein forward food. Okay. It could even be a vegetarian or plant-based option as well. The second part of that plate is detox. And this is any fruit or vegetable that you like, that you prefer, and have that on your plate. And then we have part three, which is crave. Have a little bit of that yum yum factor on your plate, whether it's a piece of toast or some bacon or some cheese or half a croissant or half a donut. Yes, you can have half a donut with breakfast, right? If that means you are going to stay more compliant throughout the day and those cravings are going to be less and you're going to be less likely to binge at night, you're going to have half of that donut with breakfast.
Mhm.
And when clients come on board, obviously we go through how to create a more satisful plate, how to create those portion sizes and specifically for them. But then part 4 of satisful plates is observe. So observing how that plate makes you feel. Are you bloated? Are you gassy? Are you tired? Do you have a stomach ache? Did you go to the bathroom right afterwards? All of those are super helpful in trying to determine the best foods for your body that make you feel the best throughout the day. So I always lead with satisful in everything that I do. I make sure that I get 8 hours of sleep. And then when it comes to some of my craving strategies, I used to be a big drinker. I used to be, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 drinks per night. I used to say I would always say like, if I'm drinking, I'm either having 10 or I'm having 0.
Mm.
Okay. I'm not having just 1 or 2.
Mhm.
Obviously, I've gotten older and I don't recover as well. But when it comes to some of my nutrition strategies, I keep my alcohol to under 2 drinks whenever I am cocktailing, and it's only probably once or even twice per week. And that strategy that I have for myself, I call it sip slow. Okay, so sipping slow. Most people tend to drink too fast, and that's when we tend to overdrink or that's when we start to snack a little bit more. That's when we tend to have hangovers. So personally for me, I like cocktails, but I know that after 2, that's when kind of I get more tired, more hangovery. I don't want to exercise the next day.
Mhm.
Um, so that's kind of my commitments that I make throughout the week, personally for myself, that work for me.
Mhm. And speaking of exercise, you kind of we talked about it a little bit. You said strength training is what you recommend. So what does that look like for you on a weekly basis? And do you also do strength training programming for your clients, or this is not part of your coaching?
Yeah, so we do strength training programs for our clients that are fat loss focused. We individualize all of our own programs. So, for example, if a busy mom comes to us and she says, I can only train 20 minutes twice a week, hey, we're going to start you there. 20 minutes twice a week. This is the type of exercises you're going to do. But we really encourage our clients to tell us how they like to move. Do you like to go for walks? Do you like to bike ride? Do you like to swim? Do you like to Peloton? Do you like to Zumba? We want clients to enjoy how they're moving, right? So we like to program in these different types of non-exercise related activity into our clients' programs, just to get them moving more. Oftentimes, when clients find a way that they like to move, they want to keep doing it, right?
Mhm.
So whether it's hiking or yoga, we encourage our clients to get that in. So personally, my training program right now, I'm doing a 3 days a week strength training program. I have been injured for the last 2 years, so I was working with a coach who was kind of helping me recover from some of my imbalances and helping me correct some things. So she had me on 3 days a week. A hinge day, a knee dominant day, and then more of a mobility and core day. Hoping to get up to 4 days per week, but really not stressing my training too much. I know that as long as I show up 3 days a week and I'm progressing in my lifts, I feel pretty good about that. And then I'm fortunate to live in Florida, so I can get out for walks, 3 or 4 times per week, some days longer than others. But I really love walking. It's a big mental de-stressor for me.
Mhm.
So just emotionally and mentally, it's a very grounding. I get very creative. I get very um, out of my head. So it's
Mm.
always really helpful to do that.
Yeah, I love walking too. I'm a big walker also, and
Yeah,
it's just um, it's just so important to get out of the house, get some sunshine. We're lucky. We're both in very sunny states. I know not
I
everybody that's
know.
fortunate, but even if there's no sun outside, even getting outside, even if it's a cloudy day, just go and do it and see what it does. And I've also had a lot of, not a lot of, but actually a couple of clients who didn't have any like exercise experience at all. And then when they started even just walking, that alone made a big difference. And now they're like, oh my God, my endurance is so good. I can go up the hills, take all the stairs, and I'm looking forward to it. So it's like addictive in the best possible way, I think.
I agree with you. I had a client who it was like pulling teeth with her just to get her for one 20-minute walk per week.
Hmm.
And then slowly she started increasing her walk times, and I saw 30 minutes and 45 minutes and then
Hmm.
twice a week. And now she's like, I love my walks. I'm like, I'm so happy to hear that.
Hmm.
So it,
Hmm.
to your point, it is addicting. And I think mentally you realize what it does for you, and it becomes so empowering to want to continue doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so tell us also a little bit about what kind of results your clients get when they work with you, whether it is a one-on-one program or what, or maybe it's a group coaching. What kind of results can people expect?
Sure. So our bread and butter is really our one-on-one personalized coaching programs. And the reason is that everyone's an individual, right? Everyone responds differently to certain trainings types, to certain foods, and everyone has a different lifestyle. So we really try and create strategies that align with our clients' schedule, their needs, whether they have kids in the family, whether they work from home or they travel, we really try and cater specifically to them.
Hmm.
With that being said, I would say the transformation that we're best at facilitating for our clients is first is reducing hunger, cravings, and overeating by up to 50% within the first 30 to 90 days of working with us. And that is simply by starting with satisful nutrition strategies, craving strategies, and just getting clients into a better nutritional routine.
Hmm.
I would say the second transformation that we're best at facilitating is body recomposition. So, for anyone listening, weight loss is different than fat loss, right? Weight loss is when we're losing things like muscle mass, we're losing water weight. We can simply lose weight by hopping on an elliptical, burning a ton of calories, and making sure that we're in that calorie deficit per day. But as women in our 30s and 40s, we want to maintain lean muscle tissue. Even women in our 50s, even women in our 20s, right? We need to start and maintain that lean muscle tissue in our body. And then we use nutrition to create that calorie deficit. So we really are helping clients body recomposition. So we're adding that lean muscle tissue to their body while helping them lose inches. And when those clients are losing inches, they're really losing fat, right? We do see some weight loss, especially with clients that have more weight to lose. But oftentimes we're seeing women's bodies completely change, losing inches around the stomach and the lower belly and the thighs and around the underarms. And we're seeing more definition come through the arms. So on average, women are seeing 3 pounds and 3 inches loss within the first 3 months. I have clients that have been with us for a year that are down 15 pounds and 15 inches total. I have clients with us that have been with us for 5 months who are averaging 10 inches and 10 pounds. So we really want to see those inches coming down for fat loss. But again, we will see some weight loss as well if we have, a little bit more weight to lose as well.
Yeah, this is fantastic, and I think the biggest part of it is your first how did you call it? Like the lean, right? Starting your plate from that, the protein. Like when you start just paying attention to that, like if you're not paying attention to it at all right now, and this is going to be a first step, that alone in 4 weeks is going to give you results. Even right now, actually, I started working with somebody a week ago. Was it a week? Oh my God, it's actually less than that. It's been like literally 4 days. We checked in today and she said my bloating is down so much. And I know it's
Wow.
protein. Like, it can be so quick if you haven't paid attention to it. So that's why I think it's absolutely like 100% uh like a guaranteed pretty much, and the right decision to have that as the most important thing on the plate to look at.
Mhm.
It's such a simple thing, and it's a big game changer for so many people.
Yeah, I think that it's so easier to eat filler foods, and not filler foods are bad, but like it's easy to grab a slice of toast or a handful of pretzels or, you know, a baked good, something that's quick and easy instead of having to like warm up chicken or get some sliced turkey or hard boil eggs,
Mhm.
and protein is dense and you have to chew it and it takes time to eat it, right? It's not something as quick as maybe we want it to be, and oftentimes. So, yes, to your point, it takes that active decision of making sure you have it on hand, making sure that you're doing that food list on Sunday and having those 3 to 5 go-to protein sources for yourself, bringing some stuff to work and keeping it in the fridge, or, having some turkey jerky in the car if you have a long commute. So there's definitely some preparation that comes into prioritizing that protein for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Whether you're tracking macros or not tracking macros, I think the meal prep should still be something that most everybody does. It's just for your health. You're saving money by doing that. You're gonna feel better. I mean, there's literally like no downsides in my opinion to it. Yeah. Okay, so what kind of offerings do you have right now? Do you have any free resources you would like to share with the audience? And do you also take on clients if anybody's interested?
Yes, we do. So right now we are accepting applications for our Black Friday special, which is a special bonus offer for anyone that is looking to work with us one-on-one through the end of the year into the new year. And that is going to be up to 25% off our one-on-one coaching programs. So you have to apply by November 7th to be eligible. But besides that, besides our one-on-one coaching, every year in January, we run the Cravings Cleanup Challenge. And that is actually a 7-day challenge that we have going on right now. And it's very approachable. It's very tailored to the individual. It's helping you create satisful plates every day for cravings control and to help you jumpstart your fat loss goals. So if you don't feel ready for one-on-one coaching or want to get to know us a little bit more, you can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Facebook. You can add your name to the wait list for the Cravings Cleanup Challenge, which will happen in January. Again, a 7-day challenge to help you reduce cravings and overeating and help you jumpstart your fat loss goals. And then we'll have some more group offerings as we get into 2023 next year as well.
Mm-hmm. And you also have a fun quiz. Tell us a little bit more about that too.
Yes, I do. Our Cravings Archetype quiz has been really instrumental in helping women just get a better understanding of their cravings type. And so over the last 3 or 4 years of working with women specifically who struggle with cravings, hunger, and overeating, I've developed this very easy 2-minute free quiz that after answering 10 questions, it's going to give you your dominant cravings archetype. And I alluded to the cravings archetypes earlier today, but let me review them really quickly. So Routine Roberta is our first cravings archetype. She is highly impacted by her environment or her childhood relationship with food. So maybe she's someone that is influenced by her social circles, her partner, people at home, people that she spends the most time with. She may have trouble creating her own routine and finding confidence in herself and her own choices. She goes through the motions despite best intentions of wanting to eat better. Routine Roberta might be someone who has a regular nightly glass of wine, or is someone who frequents the same exact restaurants and gets the same type of takeout. She might be someone that finds comfort in routine and it's hard to kind of elicit change, right? Or someone maybe that doesn't like change. The second cravings archetype is hormonal Henrietta, and this is connected to metabolism and hormones. She is someone who may skip meals or lacks satisful ingredients when she eats. She may experience midday and nighttime cravings, oftentimes ravenous. She may also experience poor quality sleep and high stress. She might be an emotional eater because emotional eating is also connected to our hormones and metabolism, as well as the next archetype, which I'll go through. She may rely on caffeine to get through the day and wine to unwind at night. She may be on or off birth control and experience intense PMS symptoms, and she might find her hunger unmanageable around that time of the month. And then our last cravings archetype, which is the most dominant cravings archetype that we see women who take the quiz end up being. Her name is Disconnected Donna. Okay. And she is someone who is impacted by her mindset, by her perceptions, by her beliefs about herself, her body, her food, and the fat loss journey. So disconnected Donna might be triggered by certain foods, situations, people, or emotional changes throughout the day. She might use food to cope and self-soothe. And she might be a type A and keep very busy, which makes her more disconnected from her body, makes her more disconnected from her triggers, and listening to what her body actually needs. Her cravings may occur in specific situations when she wants to feel in control. So we're seeing, like I said, most women being disconnected Donnas, but if you want to learn more about the cravings archetype that you are, we will drop the link to the quiz in there. It takes less than 2 minutes and it's completely free. And the interesting thing is that you might see qualities from different archetypes, just as I mentioned. You might say, oh, well, I feel like maybe I'm a disconnected Donna, or right now I'm a little bit more routine Roberta. But we all have one sort of dominant cravings archetype, even though we might bleed into different ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is super interesting and fun. And I think you have some tips and tools for each type too, right? Once you figure out who you are, then you have some strategies for how to deal with cravings, right?
Yes, exactly. So after you take the quiz, you'll get your results, and then it'll actually give you 3 steps to start doing right away that you can start implementing, as soon as you get those results, to kind of help you get on track, maybe wrap your mind around some of these craving strategies, and start balancing out some of those cravings and hunger that you have going on.
Awesome. Well, thank you. This has been great. Is there anything else you would like to add? I think we covered a lot, but maybe I missed something.
We did cover a lot. The last thing I would like to say is that I want women to get more comfortable with the reality that cravings are going to happen, and that cravings don't mean that you're bad or that something's wrong with you. I want you to simply start to shift your mindset away from like, what's wrong with me? Why is this bad? To what can I learn from this? I think women feel a lot of shame and guilt when we overeat or we even indulge a little bit. And I think that we need to be able to, the only way that real change can happen is if we move away from the shame and guilt, like I mentioned in the beginning, and we move more towards flexibility and curiosity to learn more about ourselves and cravings. So I hope that this was informative. I hope that this validated some of the feelings that you're experiencing around cravings, and also just normalized that women have cravings. We're human beings.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
hope this was helpful. And thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, sure. It was great. And why don't you tell us real quick or your Instagram handle too? I'm going to put it in the show notes, but if somebody's listening right now wants to get it right away.
Sure, you can go ahead and find me on Instagram at Laura Cavallo __ cravings _ coach. And my last name is C as in Charlie, A as in Apple, V as in Victor, ALLO, Cavallo. It's Italian, it means horse. So Laura Cavallo Cravings Coach on Instagram, and Laura Cavallo Cravings Coach on Facebook.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laura, for being here today, chatting with us. And I hope to see you soon again.
Yes, thanks so much, Kristen. See you soon.
Bye.